An Oklahoma ranch gate that used to stay open for family, suddenly getting fixed like somebody planned to close the world out. New hinges. Fresh wood. Quiet work. The kind you do when you're not hosting anybody, you're preparing. And if you've followed Blake long enough, you know what that means. Because when life gets loud, Blake Shelton doesn't post about it. He drives, he disappears. He goes where the air feels honest. And lately, people close to him have been whispering the same thing in the same calm voice. It's finally over, he's coming back. Alone. That one word is doing a lot of damage. Alone. Not for a break. Not for work. Alone like a decision already made, just not announced yet. And before you say, it's just rumors, listen to how the details line up. Because this isn't messy gossip. It's the kind of slow, practical movement that usually comes right before a life change. It starts with boxes. Not the fun boxes. Not let's decorate a new place boxes. The heavy ones. The ones that carry your real stuff. Old guitars you don't loan out. Paperwork. Clothes you actually wear when nobody's watching. Little things that don't look important until you realize you'd only move them if you were done pretending your current life is permanent. And a friend of more than 30 years, someone who knew Blake before he was Blake Shelton, says that's exactly what's happening. But here's the part that makes your stomach drop a little. Gwen Stefani isn't part of the picture. No matching back home posts. No cozy ranch photos. No little check-in line like, we're stronger than ever. Just space. And you don't need a press release to feel what space means when it shows up out of nowhere. Now, imagine this like a movie scene. Morning fog. A truck rolling up the gravel drive. Blake steps out, not smiling for a camera, just squinting at the sky like he's checking if it still recognizes him. He walks inside the house and it smells like wood, dust, and old memories. And for the first time in a long time, nobody's asking him to be on. That feeling is addictive. And here's where it gets crazy. The people closest to him say he's not running, he's correcting. That's a country thing. When something starts bending you the wrong way, you don't fight the bend forever. You go back to what straightens you out. You've seen the two Blakes, even if you didn't realize it. There's Ranch Blake. Loud laugh. Loose shoulders. Boots in dirt. He looks like his body fits his life. Then there's Red Carpet Blake. Still charming, still funny, but sometimes the smile shows up a second late. Sometimes the eyes don't show up at all. And you felt that, right? You told yourself it was age, or stress, or just being tired. But what if it was something simpler? What if it was a man spending years in a life that never felt like his natural skin? Now drop this lyric right here, because it hits the mood perfectly.
The kind of life that made me who I am.
That's not just a line, that's a whole mindset. Slow, grounded, real. So why would a guy who finally found love with Gwen start building a life that doesn't include her? Because love and lifestyle are two different fights. Gwen's world is color, movement, and noise. It's bright lights, big cities, creative chaos, fashion, cameras, constant motion, and she's good at it. That world loves her. She belongs in it, the way a spotlight belongs on a stage. Blake's world is quieter. It's porch lights and early mornings. It's the sound of boots on wood. It's routine. It's not boring, it's peace. And peace becomes priceless when you've lived too long without it. Some couples can blend worlds. Some couples try and slowly start living in different temperatures. And honestly, that's what this feels like. Not a blow-up. Not a scandal. A temperature problem. One person can't breathe in the heat, the other can't live in the cold. So you start standing farther apart in the same room? Then one day, you stop standing in the same room at all. People in town say Blake's been showing up like he's reclaiming something. Talking to old neighbors, checking the property like it's not an investment but a home. Getting things repaired that didn't need repairing unless you plan to spend real time there again. And the friend says Blake sounds calmer than he sounded in years. Not excited, not bragging, just relieved. Relief is a huge tell. Because relief doesn't come from maybe. Relief comes from finally. And now you've got this weird emotional contrast happening and it's making fans feel confused. You want to root for them. You want the story to stay sweet. But you also know what it looks like when a person starts packing their soul before they pack their bags. Right here, it's impossible not to think about Kelly Clarkson. Because Kelly didn't have a loud, messy breakup in public either, at first. She had that slow shift, the trying, the smiling for the world while privately carrying something heavy. And then one day, the truth was just out. Kelly's story taught people something painful. Sometimes the strongest looking couples are the ones working hardest behind the scenes. And sometimes the person who seems fine is the person closest to breaking. So when you hear Blake is heading back to Oklahoma alone, it doesn't just sound like gossip. It triggers that memory, that pattern, and it makes you wonder what's happening behind the curtains. Now let's drop a Kelly moment right here, because you know the vibe.
But piece by piece, you collected me up.
short, but it stings, because it makes you ask the quiet question, who walked away first? And then Gwen's side of it creeps in. Because Gwen has lived through heartbreak before, publicly. She knows what it's like when love becomes a headline. She knows what it's like when people stare at your pain like it's entertainment. So, if something is happening now, maybe she's protecting it, or maybe she's protecting herself, or maybe they both are. And that's where it gets messy, in a quiet way. Because silence is never empty. Silence is full of decisions. Here's another quick Gwen line that fits this exact moment. Not anger, hurt. So picture this. Two people who genuinely care but are tired of forcing the merge. Tired of explaining why they feel lonely even when they're together. Tired of pretending busy is the reason they don't look like they used to. And Blake's oldest friend says the biggest change isn't physical, it's emotional. Blake stopped sounding like he was waiting for permission. He stopped sounding like he was hoping it would magically fix itself. He started sounding like a man who made peace with the hard option. But you won't believe what happened next, because the friend also said something that flips the whole story. He said Blake didn't talk like a man ending a marriage. He talked like a man ending an era. That's bigger. That's a man letting go of the version of himself that tried to be okay in rooms that never felt like home. That tried to be Hollywood Blake because it made the people around him happy. That tried to smile through a life that fit on paper, but not in the chest. And once that kind of truth shows up, it doesn't go away, it just waits. So yeah, maybe he's coming back to Oklahoma. Maybe he's coming back alone. But the real question isn't, are they splitting? The real question is this. If a man finally chooses himself, does that automatically mean he's stopped choosing his marriage? Or did he just stop choosing the life that was slowly suffocating him? Now let's talk about the part nobody wants to admit out loud. The most dangerous breakups aren't the loud ones, they're the quiet ones. The kind where nobody's yelling but everything changes anyway. The kind where a person starts living like they're single while still technically married. And if the whispers are true, that's the lane this story's drifting into. Because there's a difference between taking time and building a separate life. Taking time is a suitcase. Building a separate life is moving your essentials. Fixing your gate. Making the ranch feel lived in again. Creating a future you can picture without needing someone else to stand in it. And people close to Blake say that's what's happening. Slowly, carefully, almost respectfully. That's what makes it heartbreaking. There's no villain you can point at. No easy Team Blake or Team Gwen. Just two humans, two strong identities, and a relationship that might have hit its limit. This changes everything when you remember how their love started. It wasn't planned. It didn't feel strategic. It felt like two people finding comfort in the middle of chaos. Gwen was coming off a painful chapter. Blake had his own history. And suddenly they were laughing again. Like life wasn't so heavy. That's why fans got attached. It looked like healing, but healing isn't the same as long-term fit. Sometimes a person helps you survive a storm, and then, when the weather clears, you realize you don't actually want to live in the same house. That sounds harsh. But it happens. And it doesn't mean the love was fake. It means the season changed. Here's the part most people miss. Blake's comfort zone isn't fame. It's familiarity. He can do fame. He's great at it. But it costs him. And the older you get, the less you tolerate living in a constant cost. You start asking yourself, what am I paying for this life? And is it worth it? And if the answer becomes no, you start planning your exit in a way that won't destroy you. That's why this feels so calm. According to his friend, Blake isn't spiraling. He isn't partying. He isn't acting reckless. He's doing the opposite. He's simplifying. He's shrinking the world back down until it fits in his hands again. That's classic I'm done behavior. Now, let's pull Kelly Clarkson back into this, because her story mirrors the emotional logic. Kelly had that same vibe. Work, success, smiles. Then quiet moments where you could tell something was heavy. When her split became public, a lot of people said, I had no idea. But the truth is, the signs were there. They were just subtle. That's what you're seeing now with Blake and Gwen. The signs aren't dramatic. They're absent. Less public closeness. Less shared energy. Less we. Because absence makes you fill in the blanks with your own fear. Here's a tiny Kelly line again, because it lands.
That everything good is gone.
An emotional mirror. It's what people feel watching a love story wobble. You start thinking, if it can happen to them, what does that say about love in general? Now Gwen's side gets complicated too, because Gwen isn't just a wife in this story. She's a person with her own history of public heartbreak. She knows how brutal people can be when your relationship turns into a public debate. So if she's quiet right now, it could mean she's protecting her peace. Or it could mean she's already grieving privately. Or it could mean something else entirely. And that's the trap with celebrity silence. You can't tell if it's strategy, but here's what fans keep circling back to. If everything was fine, wouldn't there be at least one tiny signal? One ranch photo, one sweet comment, one little, "we're good." Instead, you've got this steady drift toward Oklahoma and Gwen not appearing in the frame. And you're left staring at the empty space like it's the whole story. Now imagine Blake back at the ranch for real. No stylists. No schedule. No live TV pressure. Just him. He walks into a room and it doesn't care who he is. The walls don't applaud. The land doesn't ask questions. The animals don't know his net worth. He sits on the porch and feels his shoulders drop. That's not romance. That's biology. That's a nervous system finally unclenching. And once you feel that kind of relief, it's hard to go back. Here's a short Blake moment to match it.
You're wasting your time. I'm not buying.
The ache of mistiming. The feeling of two people not landing in the same place. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but why would Gwen not come with him? Didn't she like the ranch life? Maybe she did. Maybe she loved it as a getaway, but living somewhere and visiting somewhere are two totally different lives. A weekend on the ranch is cute. It's boots, photos, fresh air, novelty. A permanent ranch life is routine. Isolation. Quiet. It's fewer events, fewer friends nearby, fewer creative sparks if you're the kind of person who thrives on movement. And if Gwen's identity is rooted in a vibrant, creative, city-connected rhythm, then Oklahoma might start to feel less like home and more like compromise. And compromise is fine, until it becomes sacrifice. Now here's the hard truth. Most marriages don't end because there's no love. They end because the daily life becomes unlivable for one person. And if Blake has been quietly moving essentials back home, that suggests daily life in the shared world stopped working for him. Which leads to the question nobody wants to type in the comments, but everybody is thinking, did they already have the conversation? Not the we're stressed conversation, the real one. The one where you admit, I don't think we want the same life anymore. Because once that conversation happens, everything looks the same on the outside for a while, but the inside is already different. People still smile in public. They still stand close in photos, but the future is quietly splitting like a road at night, and the friend's calmness makes it feel like that road has already been chosen. Now drop one more Gwen line right here, because it's too perfect for this emotional beat.
Hard to remember how it felt.
That song is basically the sound of acceptance after pain, not joy. Acceptance. So where does that leave you? Watching a man possibly walk back into the life that made him feel like himself, while a marriage that once looked unbreakable sits in silence, and you can't help but feel two things at once. Sadness, because endings hurt. And weird hope, because sometimes an ending is the only way a person survives. So if Blake really comes back to the ranch alone, don't just ask if it's the end of a marriage. Ask the deeper question. If a man leaves everything behind to come home alone, is he giving up on love? Or is he finally choosing the one thing he's been missing this whole time? A life that actually fits?